The life of every person must be deeply connected to the shared life of humanity, for the entire universe is permeated with harmony and unity. Just as in nature, so too in the inner dimension, all aspects of existence are intimately interconnected. In this passage, Marcus Aurelius emphasizes that no individual lives in isolation. Every human being is part of something greater. According to his Stoic vision, the universe is governed by a harmonious order in which everything is interconnected. In the same way, the inner and spiritual life of each person is linked to that of others. The message encourages living with a sense of responsibility, aware that our actions influence the community and the overall balance of existence.
Every experience, every moment of our day is like a seed carried by the wind, coming to rest in the heart of each one of us. Only through silence and meditation can each seed be transformed and bear fruits of goodness. In this reflection, Thomas Merton compares everyday events to seeds that enter the human heart. Nothing we live through is useless or accidental. Everything can become a source of inner growth. However, only in silence and meditation do these seeds find the space they need to mature. The text invites us to slow down, to listen inwardly, and to cultivate our inner life so that experiences may be transformed into awareness, goodness, and compassion.
Everything has its own beginning and its own end. The same is true for every human being. Nothing exists without a beginning and a conclusion. Those who are able to recognize where everything begins and where everything comes to an end draw closer to the truth. The thought expressed by Confucius encourages the development of a deep awareness of the natural cycle of life, reminding us that everything, without exception, goes through a beginning, a phase of growth, and a moment of completion. Nothing remains unchanged, and accepting change as an essential part of existence allows human beings to face reality with greater calmness and maturity. Understanding these passages helps us avoid resisting what naturally evolves, fostering a more balanced and harmonious attitude toward life and relationships. In this perspective, truth is not an abstract or distant concept, but arises from careful observation of nature and its rhythms. From the ability to recognize the order that governs all things, and from living in harmony with it, thus cultivating wisdom, respect, and inner awareness. Only in the storm does the art of the navigator fully emerge. Only on the battlefield is the worth of the warrior truly tested. The courage of a person is recognized by how they conduct themselves in the difficult and dangerous circumstances of life. In his thought, Samuel Daniel expresses the idea that true human worth cannot be judged in moments of calm or success, but only when a person is faced with hardship, danger, and demanding trials. Just as the skill of the navigator reveals itself during a storm, and the value of the warrior is shown on the battlefield, in the same way a person's courage is revealed in the harshest situations of life. The message encourages us not to fear adversity, for it becomes an opportunity through which character, determination, and inner strength are forged.
What depends on us can be chosen consciously and is in accordance with nature. What does not depend on us is instead inevitable. Among the things that depend on us, none is in itself good or bad. Among those that do not depend on us, some appear naturally negative, others positive. But who are we? We are a soul. And what then are we? Not flesh, not bones, nor tendons, but will. And I am speaking of what each and every one of us chooses, because everything else is inevitable. It may happen or it may not. Epictetus distinguishes between what is under our control and what is not. According to him, serenity arises from focusing only on what depends on us, our thoughts, judgments, desires, and will. Everything else, the body, external events, success or failure, is not fully controllable and therefore should not determine our worth or our happiness. The essence of the human being is conscious will, not the physical dimension or external circumstances.
The law of life of wise people is not immediately evident, but it becomes increasingly clear to those who choose to follow it. The law of life of ordinary people appears clear to everyone, yet over time it tends to grow obscure within the collective conscience. Confucius highlights the difference between the path of wisdom and the path followed by the majority. The way of the wise requires commitment, reflection, and consistency. At first, it may seem difficult or hard to understand, but through practice and awareness, it becomes clear. By contrast, ordinary life follows rules that seem simple and immediate, yet over time they lose depth and inner clarity if they are not questioned and lived with attention.
It is not the one who has little, but the one who desires much, who is poor. With this statement, Seneca overturns the common meaning of poverty. A person is not poor because they possess few material goods, but because they live dominated by an incessant desire to have more and more. The real problem is not the lack of wealth, but the inability to feel satisfied with what one already has. According to Stoic thought, those who chase unlimited desires become slaves to their own ambitions, living in a constant state of dissatisfaction and inner restlessness. Even abundance, in this case, fails to bring serenity because every goal achieved immediately gives rise to a new need. Happiness is your true nature. It is not wrong to desire it. It is wrong to seek it outside, for it already dwells within you. According to Ramana Maharshi, happiness does not depend on what we obtain in the external world, but is a natural quality of our being. The desire to be happy is not a mistake, because it arises from a deep inner impulse to return to what we truly are. The illusion lies in seeking happiness outside ourselves, and trusting it to situations and conditions that are bound to change. When attention instead turns inward, through presence and awareness, a stable, silent, and ever-available happiness naturally emerges. Whatever it may be, the one thing that is undoubtedly most important is the way in which a person accepts their fate. The thought expressed by Wilhelm von Humboldt emphasizes that the true value of human experience lies not so much in the events that happen to a person, but in the inner attitude with which they choose to face them. Fate is not understood as an unchangeable destiny that nullifies individual freedom, but rather as the set of conditions, often not chosen, within which each individual is called to shape their own life. To accept it means to acknowledge it with clarity, without denying it or submitting to it passively, transforming it instead into a space for growth, awareness, and personal development. In this sense, for Humboldt, authentic freedom arises from the way a person responds to what happens to them, turning every experience, even the most difficult, into an opportunity to build oneself. If your life looks messy, you're not failing, you're human. Simplicity is the underrated superpower. Try it. Marcus Aurelius said we make life harder than it needs to be. Hunger, cold, hardship. These aren't punishments, they're training. Not everyone feels pain the same, but everyone can choose how to meet it. Face small discomforts with awareness. They stop being obstacles and start being tools. Discipline trims the noise, simplifies choices, and builds a quieter, tougher mind. So next time you're tempted to overcomplicate, step back. Choose less. Feel more, grow stronger. Simplicity wins.